Hey all, my name is Matthijs. I'm here to tell you a little bit more about this wireless Bluetooth to MIDI receiver that you can connect to your favorite controller and connect to your VJ program or DAW or whatever you need MIDI for, basically. In this video I'll be telling you a little bit about the controllers that I'm using, the MIDI receiver itself, how to set it up in your computer, how to get to the configuration page, walk you through all the settings that come with the receiver, and well, together we'll explore a little bit how this thing works and how it behaves and what you can do with it. So let's jump right into this video and see what we can do. So whenever you buy a Bluetooth to MIDI receiver, it comes in two versions. The first one is the Pro version that I have right here. It's a little bit bulkier, it's a little bit heavier, it has some lights all around, and generally speaking this is the one you want to buy whenever you have an Xbox controller or a PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5. It can connect with the original Wii controllers as well. Generally speaking, every controller either has Bluetooth or Bluetooth Low Energy will work with this receiver, the Pro version of the receiver. Now, there's also a mini version of this receiver. I don't have it with me right now, but it's a little bit smaller, it's a little bit lighter, it's the size of a post stand basically. I'll put a picture up in the video right here. And that receiver only supports Bluetooth Low Energy devices, which basically means for us, sadly, that it basically only can connect to Xbox One controllers, because all the other controllers out there, generally speaking, use Bluetooth Classic instead of Bluetooth Low Energy. So before you buy this thing, basically, please check if it even supports Bluetooth Low Energy or Bluetooth Classic. I'll put a link down in the description where you can check if your controller supports Bluetooth and if you can use it with this thing. And if you can, well, then you can go ahead and get one for yourself. So the first thing you want to do is obviously plug this into your laptop. I've got it connected right here via USB-C. You'll see some lights start blinking, and well, that's the first thing that you can do to confirm that it's actually working. Then we'll go ahead but with binding one of the controllers. So to bind your controller, you want to grab your favorite controller. I'll be using the Xbox controller right now, but it'll also work with the Switch Joy-Con. Most of the controllers around here usually have a little bind button, as you can see right there, or on the Xbox right there. So you can turn it on. You have to press the bind button for a couple times. You'll see that it starts flashing quite rapidly, and when it's connected it'll stop flashing. And as you can see right now, the controller stops flashing, and you'll see on the MIDI receiver that it's starting blinking rapidly. So you can confirm that it's receiving messages from your controller by pressing a button and looking at the light, and if the frequency and the color changes, you're sure that they're actually connected right now. So actually right now you can already use this. So if we open up our software that we want to use the MIDI controller with, in my case that will be Resolume Arena, because I like VJing with this thing. I like walking around the crowd and giving it to people, show them how it's done, and well, you usually get a lot of very fun responses out of it. But as soon as you're in your favorite software that you want to use the MIDI receiver with, you can go to Preferences, and in my case there's a tab with MIDI. You'll see that it showed up as a gamepad MIDI. That's how I named mine. That's how yours will be received as well. You can change it in the settings, but I'll show you later. Make sure that the MIDI input is connected. There's no MIDI output. And Resolume has this nice tab where you can actually see incoming MIDI messages. So as soon as you start pressing buttons, you'll see all the MIDI messages coming in. So we got some faders. And you'll also see that it's already connected to some of the clips that I have loaded up in my Resolume Arena, which is great. So now that we confirm that this is working, we can go ahead and go the extra mile by setting it up to our own preferences. So to do this, it's fairly simple. You'll grab your receiver and there's actually a push button in the casing right here. So we'll just want to press that for 5 seconds and you'll see the status LED change color and frequency. So now that we can see that it's actually went into config mode, it'll start up an AP hotspot that you can connect to with your Wi-Fi on your laptop or on your phone. So we'll be doing this on our laptop. So I'll just navigate to the Wi-Fi section right here. You'll see that there's a new Wi-Fi access point called Midi Bridge Config. We'll connect to it. And then once connected, we can go to the IP address 192.168.4.1 and you'll actually see this config page right here. So there's actually two pages to this config page. The first one is the page where you can see your connected controllers and the MIDI messages that are being outputted, as well as the buttons that are being pressed on your MIDI controller. So right now, if I press the A or the B button, you can actually see the A and the B button being recognized. And this way you can see if all your buttons are working as they should. Usually, especially these older Xbox style controllers, have a little bit of stick drift, so they'll not perfectly center in the middle, just like the Joy-Cons or some of the other controllers right there. So you can read the values and actually set a dead zone later on in the config page. So once we have seen this page, we can actually go to the configuration page where you can set up a couple of different settings. So the first thing you can change is your device name. That's the name that your computer recognizes the MIDI receiver as, just like you saw in Resolute. Now, the controller mode, this is actually a very fun setting that you can play around with a little bit yourself. So there's actually a single controller mode and a multi-controller mode. Now, what does the single controller mode do? The single controller mode does, well, it controls the same messages with multiple controllers. So you can actually connect up to 4 controllers to the MIDI receiver, but the behavior changes on the two. Now, in single controller mode, the MIDI messages that are being sent to your program are the same. So if I press the A button on this one, and I have another controller like this one, and I also press the A button, then they both send out the same controller, which is nice if you want to have like 2 people controlling the same kind of actions or the same clips or whatever. But you don't always want that, right? So for that, there's also the multi-controller mode, which actually makes sure that each controller sends a separate MIDI message out. So this one might send C4 when I press A, but if I have a different controller and I press the A, it might send out C5. This makes sure that the MIDI messages don't conflict with each other. So if you want to control separate things in your program, then this is the mode you want to use. Now, the button mappings, you can enable some of the buttons. Let's say you don't want to use, for example, the X, Y, A, B buttons right here. You can disable the face buttons or the D-pad or the shoulder buttons. Any of the buttons that can be pressed, arrows, options, the L3, R3, the shoulder buttons, the face buttons, you can disable right here if you don't want them used. Now, here in the analog configuration, you can actually set the dead zone. So mine are set to 10% and 5%. Yours will be as well when you receive them. But you can change the behavior of this. So let's say you only want the back trigger to trigger when they're above 50% pushed. Then simply move this to the 50% and well, it works like that. You can check it in the controller page to see if you want to see if it behaves correctly, basically. But yeah, this is pretty nice. So if you want the trigger buttons to act as buttons instead of as faders, there's an option for that right here. Same for the stick behavior. So there's actually 3 different options for the stick behavior. The first one is a linear control fader. So basically your stick will behave as one fader from the bottom to the top, which means that when it centers, it'll send out like a MIDI message with the value of the center value. which I don't specifically find useful myself, but maybe for you it does. Now, there's also 4-button mode, which works, well, as you would expect, as 4 buttons. So you got a left, a right, a top, and a bottom. And, well, you can trigger clips or whatever you want with them. And my favorite actually is the 4cc mode, which works just like the buttons instead of as control messages. So instead of having one big fader from the top to the bottom, it actually has 4 faders, so 1 fader from the center to the left, 1 from the center to the right, 1 from the center to the top, and 1 from the center to the bottom. This applies to both of the sticks, so be wary about that. You can't control the messages individually. Until now, maybe in future update we'll do that. Now, here we can enable or disable some of the analog sticks. So as you can see, I got my right stick disabled because there's so much stick drift in there that it's not usable for me personally. I don't mind that so much, so I just disabled the right stick. Now, lastly, there's a rumble feedback mode. You can enable rumble whenever you press a button. So, well, it's hard to show on video, but as soon as you press a button, the controller rumbles a little bit. You can set on which buttons the controller actually rumbles. It's a nice feature. However, I found myself that whenever I'm doing long shows, it gets a little bit overwhelming because you're already in a quite high sensitive and intense situation, and then also having this thing vibrate for the whole night in your hands is not that comfortable, but well, you can enable or disable them yourself right here. Lastly, there's a firmware update section, so the controller will support, or the receiver will support updates or over-the-air updates, which basically means that you can flash some new software or firmware whenever we release new features. You won't be left behind with an old version. So it's upgradable, which is great. Whenever there are bugs or anything that we found, then we'll fix them, we'll send you a message, and you can fix it yourself. So after you did everything, well, you want to save the configuration, right? You can exit the configuration mode, the AP will turn off, and you can use it again in your software. So I hope this video was useful to you. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll put a link down below to the GitHub page and to the Etsy page where you can order one of these. I'm happy to help you out, so feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or anything. And yeah, I hope to see you around soon.